Noa Tishby es autora de 2 New York Times bestsellers y ex enviada especial de Israel para combatir el antisemitismo. El pasado 4 de septiembre, y gracias a Keren Kayemet, México, Noa se presentó con la comunidad judía en un evento al que acudieron 1,000 personas. Hoy, en un espacio especial para Enlace Judío, la reconocida Noa Tishby nos habla sobre ese mensaje urgente para transmitir en estos tiempos de guerra. Noa, first of all, thank you for your time for this interview.
Hi, nice to meet you too.
Noa, you are a 2-time New York Times bestselling author. But today I want to talk with Noa, the Israeli citizen, and ask you the following. Has your opinion on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict changed after October 7? And if so, what is your opinion now?
Wow. October 7th was a shock to the system for a lot of Israelis. We did not see it coming. We knew that this was the intent. We didn't think that they're actually going to be doing it or succeeding as much as they did. The opinion hasn't changed because we need to find some sort of a resolution. But what did change is the very clear understanding that Hamas and other movements like Hamas cannot be allowed to be in power anywhere in the Middle East or with the Palestinian people. So that's the one thing that became very, very clear, and I hope that people around the world are actually understanding that. Not the mobs, but the people in power, the politicians, the military people, they understand that Israel disengaged from Gaza and left Gaza entirely for the Palestinian people in order to create their beautiful Singapore, their beautiful, flourishing country, and what they came up with was October 7th. And that cannot be allowed to happen again.
In the narrative of this conflict, everyone becomes an expert and shares their opinions on social networks. So explain the difficulties that the state of Israel faces when combating an invisible enemy, like terrorism, becomes increasingly challenging.
Yeah.
So now if you could choose a single message to clarify the most basic aspects of this conflict, what would it be?
I think that the essence of this conflict is a clash of cultures. The essence of this conflict is jihadi culture that is intended on slaughtering Jews, destroying Israel, and taking over the West, and Western liberal democracies winning over the conversation. That is the one important thing that I believe the world needs to understand. This is not a war of the Jews. This is not a war of Israel. This is the war of Western values versus jihadism, and that is something that needs to be very concerning for every person, whether in North America, South America, Europe, or anywhere else in the world.
Of course, and Noa, you wrote the book, Israel, A Simple Guide to the Most Misunderstood Country on Earth. And those of us who have read it have learned a lot. But the author, Noa, also learns. So I want to ask you, what was your biggest lesson while writing this book that explains the reality of Israel?
That's a great question. First of all, I learned a lot more details. So I was able to go into more specific details about historical events and developments as they happened and go deeper into them. But I think that for me, one of the most exciting things to learn was the history of my family. And there was a lot of history that I wasn't aware of. And my family I knew that they were heavily involved in building the country on both sides, both my parents' side, my mom's side, and my dad's side. And reading through the writings of my grandparents and my great-grandparents was incredible. And that was, I think, to me, was one of the most inspiring moments in the process.
Now, since October 7, you have been more involved, not only in the issue of the war, but also in the antisemitism that has emerged around it. I even saw you speaking at Berkeley University in the United States. So now, based on what you have seen so far, do you believe that the criticism toward the state of Israel are driven by hiding antisemitism?
So it's two separate things. Criticism of the state of Israel, criticism of Israeli policies or politicians is totally legitimate. It's a part of democratic discourse, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can totally do that. What I am against and what is anti-Semitic is denying Israel's right to exist, and that is what we're dealing with here. So we are not dealing with people who say, I hate this politician or that politician, and I don't like what's happening in Gaza, or I don't like this particular policy. We're dealing with people that are saying that Israel is the source of all evil in the world. And in order for the world to be a better place, Israel needs to be taken down, which is not dissimilar to what they used to say about the Jews. So if we just take down the Jews, everything will be fine. And now they're saying, we're just going to take down the Jewish state and everything would be fine. That is what I'm fighting against. And that is something that has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with the oldest form of hate and discrimination that is still being practiced today, which is anti-Semitism.
So now, thank you. Thank you for your time. But above all, thank you for your work in these difficult times.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.